Over the last 24 hours, the FaZe drama has really started to escalate, and it's mainly involved a back and forth between PlaqueBoyMax, or just Max, and FaZe Banks. I ended up just going live and doing a stream covering all of the updates between my last video and what's going on today, and in just a few short hours, or probably already happening at the time of this video, Silky, Ronaldo, Jason, Adapt, all these people are going live. So there's probably going to be more. I'll be making a follow-up video. Now, a good chunk of this video towards the latter half is going to be a stream that I had done covering all of this, but unfortunately during the beginning I forgot to hit record, and I don't want to give you guys really shitty quality for the first half, so I'm going to just go over a few of those first important bits, and then when we get to some of Banks and Max going back and forth, I'm going to switch it over to a bit of the stream. All that being said, if you're new here and appreciate the content and the speed at which it's happening, I'd really appreciate the sub. We're very close to 100k. It'd be cool to hit it at the end of the year. If you enjoy the time saved by compiling all this stuff for you guys, it would also help the video if you give it a like, perchance a hype. But regardless if you do any of that, thank you for watching. Starting off with the last two people to leave FaZe Clan here, Your Rage. I'm sorry to any supporters we let down. Thank you for letting us come in to do our thing to try to save this shit. I wish it didn't have to be this way, but that chapter of my life is forever closed now. And then secondly, we have Kaysen. This one really hurts. I bled FaZe to the core, and I'm proud of what I did and what we've accomplished. I'm really sad it's come to this, but I have nothing but gratitude. I will continue to run and grow FaZe esports program as it is a different entity. And that is something that I should have clarified as well earlier. I just didn't think about it. I think a good chunk of people didn't think about it. FaZe esports is also run under the same name, but it is a different entity. There may have been some members leaving from that, but I'm not too interested in that. I think the main focus of a lot of what we're going over today has to do with the clan. Second big update though, it seems that we're kind of getting more and more confirmation as this comes from a Bloomberg article of Matt Kalish, who was on the board for FaZe, I believe was one of the main stakeholders in FaZe before they left here in December, talking more about the finance side of things, which is kind of giving more credit to this idea that they had tried to offer a contract with like a 20% revenue share, which they ended up rejecting. But Matt Kalish, who is the CEO of HardScope, which is the new org that he's starting up, says FaZe's current financial structure is unsustainable. Matt Kalish revealed he invested $10 million into FaZe's talent group over the past 18 months, and gave creators the option to go independent or sign deals with HardScope. After roughly 6 months of talks, negotiations ended with creators reportedly viewing the terms as unfavorable, and Kalish plans to move forward without them. And here we've got a screenshot from that. I mean, I'm just gonna read one of his quotes here. "My best guess is they're all good kids and have a lot of people in their ear and are confused," Kalish said in an interview. FaZe had subsidized a lot of their expenses, he added. The influencers felt the terms Kalish offered were unfavorable, etc., etc. I think two big issues with this HardScope org. Number one, if you watched FaZe, like OG FaZe during their trick shotting, quick scoping, you know that HardScope is essentially a slur for a COD player. You never want to be accused of hardscoping. Any trick shot you hit, any quick scope is immediately rejected if you hardscoped during any of it. So already a bad look for any FaZe member to join HardScope, but also it's called HardScope. People are going to be making dick jokes. This is inevitable. So for me personally, it just sounds like a double yucky name here. Now this gets into this spat that is going on right now, and that's putting it lightly, between Max, PlaqueBoyMax, and FaZe Banks. And this is because Max's cousin, a guy named Fatboy Dip, went on live and was talking about the reasons that Max left FaZe. And he says it's because of a contract, but also because Banks called Max the N-word.
And he's like, yo bro, the last reason for real was, you called me a nigga. You know what this response was like? Who said that? Who said that? Who said that? What? What? And he's like, bro, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I know you said that shit. I know you said that shit. He's like, bro, I was angry, but keep it a buck, bro. That's not the reason you left FaZe. Keep it a buck. Don't put that on me, bro. You know I'm going through a lot, bro. You know I love you. You're going through a lot. I'm going through a lot. Don't put that on me, bro. Max like, yo, bro, I'm not going to expose that shit. Like, it don't matter. Like, I'm going to take that on the chin. I don't care, bro. I'll be the evil nigga. But you said that shit. He's like, if I did, it wasn't on no racist shit, bro. Like, nigga, what?
So these claims end up going viral. Max is not disputing it, and it does end up kind of getting confirmed as well, because Banks ends up putting out another video, a 20-minute video on Twitter titled "Why PlaqueBoyMax Left FaZe." Now, in this video, he ends up bringing up a lot of receipts, a lot of messages between him and Max, and he's arguing that Max never really gave a fuck about him saying the N-word, and now he's just using it to farm a shit ton of clout, farm up a bunch of viewership, things like this. This is where I'm going to cut cut back over to the stream VOD. So up until about 12 minutes through the video, you're going to notice that the quality is a little bit lower. I apologize, trying to make sure that doesn't happen again, but I'll let me from a couple hours ago take it from here. I'm going to start this off by giving you guys a bit of an apology. It was something I expected was going to happen since my last video was more so from my stream and I was reacting to stuff live. I personally have an issue with Banks. I don't like Banks. I've had problems with him ever since him coming back in, reviving FaZe in the way that he did. I was definitely very much biased against Banks, especially in regard to after the temper situation, the way that he behaved during that shit coming out. It just really rubbed me the wrong way. The stuff that we're going over today between Banks and Max, I think there is a lot more nuance to it. And I think that there is a lot more credit to Banks in this situation that I was not giving him previously. And I want to be upfront about that. You know, there's one or two options that could exist, and I was leaning towards ones that didn't favor him because I don't like the guy. I think it's better to start this video out making that very clear. We're going to kind of go through some of it without him speaking because there is a good chunk of this where it's just receipts of messages between the two guys. I'll just let him start kind of the intro of it, and then once we start getting to the messages, I'm just going to read them to you, go over the important stuff, and we'll keep going past that.
Talked to Lacey and Ron today. They're all going live tomorrow, and they're going to speak from the chest as to why they left FaZe. It's the most I've talked to these guys in the last 5 months, and it's all just become a lot clearer as to like how this all came to be, and it just, yeah, it sucks. The whole thing fucking sucks for everybody. And I don't think these guys are interested in it being farmed or, you know, this whole FaZe thing, all the work and effort that everybody's put in over the last 2 years, those guys, me, all the staff, it's just being fucking completely shit on and stomped on right now. But the one person that jumped straight on the opportunity at the fucking first chance they got to jump right in the middle of it and farm it, PlaqueBoyMax.
Literally the entire point of this, if you couldn't tell just by the title of it, why he left FaZe. Max, he is claiming here as just doing this and like farming the ever-loving shit out of this to clout chase. That's his whole argument. And he's going to show, and he's arguing that Max is incredibly two-faced. And he brought receipts, which Max has a few himself, but we're going to go over them. But it's very interesting.
And he jumped on this opportunity not because he cares about anything that I've done or cares about anything that I've said. It's because it makes the most sense.
We're now going to jump into the text. So he's essentially just going to be showing that the way that he talks to Max behind closed doors, and he also claimed that he had talked to Max more than any of the other FaZe guys combined in the last 5 months, last 6 months. I just want to show this in chronological order. I keep wanting to spoil shit because it gets a bit crazier, but we'll just start here. I'm in the shower, hold on. You still in the shower? This is stupid. Yo, when I'm on stream, I'm going to speak highly of you all. That shit doesn't need to be brought to light. You don't have to even worry about it. And like I said, I apologize about that tweet. And so like clearly there was some stuff going on. Max had made a tweet about shit. We're just going to keep moving forward though. He makes this post, him talking in an audio. This past couple weeks have been rough. Overall family and dislike, I'm leaving FaZe. And I just want to say, despite our disagreements and our differences, I definitely need some time just think and collect everything right now, but I want to say I appreciate you and the shit you've done for me, because you've helped in many ways, and that shit is very appreciated, and it's not taken for granted. There's a lot of these two speaking very kindly to each other. That is pretty much everything that we're going to see. I'm definitely glad I did this, but I think it's just time to part ways, but I just wanted to give my appreciation 100%. Do you think that's good changes? I've been thinking about doing that for a while. So now we're going to start seeing, and this is what Banks is talking about, Max repeatedly goes to Banks for advice, and Banks gives him a ton of advice throughout all of this. I think this is about an Instagram handle change, like a username change. Banks tells us that he deleted messages in the DMs here. Those messages that he deleted were personally identifying information like addresses, personal life shit that he didn't want to air out. That's what he's saying. I kind of believe it based on what we're seeing, but you know, you don't know because we don't know it's deleted. He's showing these receipts. Max is not for the entirety of it. So yeah, let me just let this play.
This one is the first time Max came over since he left. It was at the end of August. He sat with me. We talked for a few hours. I want to say he was at my house 2-3 hours, and we left. I hugged him, told him I loved him, told him I'd always root for him, apologized about the what was said. He said no hard feelings, admitted several times that that was not the reason why he left FaZe, that, you know, it was an accumulation of things. But as you'll see in this conversation, Max just thought that was the best move for his career. And that's just the simple facts.
There was also mention, and I should include this because it's important for the timeline, PlaqueBoyMax's cousin claims FaZe Clan used Max's Spotify to sign a deal and make $400K without him even knowing.
Nigga, I'm like, gang, you're PlaqueBoyMax. You can get that yourself. And if you want to split it, that's cool. So this is where, we end up taking it down. Little do we know they're selling his identity without letting him know. And so Max ends up leaving FaZe. We only knew this because he left FaZe. He got the deal on Spotify. They dropped FaZe and gave it to Max. Guess how much this was for? 400 bands for 5 months. Niggas about to run off a half a ticket off a nigga.
Interestingly, this happens earlier on, and there are going to be messages between Max and that happen after this, apparent identity theft, like using his name while he's under the org to make this 400,000. But it seems like water off a duck's back based on how they interact with each other afterwards. So it's a bit of confusion as to how serious this actually was, what his cousin is talking about here. But we're continuing on with Banks's messages here. And you can see here, thank you, and I'm glad you're doing well. I've been working, taking a step back to look at everything as a whole, my career, streaming landscape, and what I want to do and be in life. Just trying to be better mentally, but I'm back now, about to take it there. You're going to notice that a lot of it is talking about like just really personal stuff, like stuff that you would confide in with someone else that's probably working in your business, like Banks is. A lot of people are kind of on both sides of this saying, we're just airing out personal conversations between the two of you where you're both talking very kindly. And the other half is saying, okay, well, Banks is right that Max is kind of being two-faced here because these dudes are talking like they're very close. And there's a lot of shit going on between them right now. And Max is airing out a lot of shit, acting like they weren't good, but clearly they have been talking and really benefiting from talking to each other. And then he also talks to him, and this will be relevant with Max's response. If you guys didn't know, a few months back, Max was hospitalized for a good chunk of time. I can't remember the exact reason, but it was pretty serious. He was in there for quite some time. I think it was during the Mafia-thon that Kai Snat had put on. You'll see here down here, Max. But my question was, why do you think the desktop streaming died, and what do you think the future of streaming shit? You're going to see him do advice questions like this a lot with Banks. Good, best thing you can be is honest with yourself, killing ego. Those things go hand in hand. There's a lot of claims back and forth about Max having an ego problem. Admittedly, I was kind of leaning towards maybe he really doesn't have an ego. I don't watch him a ton. I can't really speak to that, but there are important notes here. You'll see moments like this where Banks is talking about killing ego and stuff. He specifies it, which is interesting. I do think at the very least, Banks believes that Max has a bit of an ego problem. I also don't think that's a crazy assertion to make, being that these are streamers that thousands and thousands of people are watching, especially when you're making millions of dollars from this shit. It's not hard. Like, I would say it's harder to not develop an ego when you're in a position like that. It's just how you're able to manage that and how you're able to deal with that feeling. So I don't think that that's crazy. And so he starts going into it. Desktop died because we're in fast food swipe culture meta. Starts going over talking about, the world is clips now. Like, we just need clips, all this kind of stuff. Just giving him advice. We don't need to go over the advice itself. I'll leave a link in the description to this video if you guys want to look at the screenshots yourself. And then he says, makes perfect sense. And I think there's a lot of truth to that. Where do you think this shit goes? And so he's just asking for more advice. And Banks gives it to him. For all this shit that I'm giving him, I don't believe that Banks is giving advice that he thinks is bad. I think he is genuinely trying to be real with the guy. If the advice is bad or not, I can't tell you. I don't have a couple million subs. I'm not a, successful in that sense, or nearly as they are. But he's given the advice. Yeah, I feel you. They're agreeing. And then November 4th, I'm gonna make you proud, bro, and thank you for always believing in me. This was a month ago. This was just a little over a month ago, November 4th. This had happened after, like this message, I'm gonna make you proud, bro, and thank you for always believing in me, after the Spotify debacle that I just showed you. So for him to talk to Banks in this way is interesting. It just kind of seems that whatever the Spotify deal is that went sour, that his cousin is claiming, didn't seem to bother Max all that much. And then he's like, I just wish you believed in me in the same way. We had it in our hands. World takeover. I saw it so clearly. You got the ingredients. Always have. Will always root for you. Watching always. Banks is being incredibly kind to the guy. At least in these texts, Banks is being very, very kind. He doesn't have to be saying any of this. I think this is kind of Banks's MO, since I ever watched him. He's very much a charismatic dude. He's very, I don't want to call it love bombing because I'm not trying to let bias seep in that way, but he talks to people like they have something incredible about them and pushes them in that sense. And I think that he's kept that energy this entire way through. At the very least, it seems that way.
Guys, this is 5 weeks ago, man. This is 5 weeks ago. All this shit with Spotify, everything that Morgan has talked about happened months before this, in July. This is November, okay?
And then he says, I do, bro, trust. I just felt like leaving was part of me taking my next step, but your creative mind and understanding of this shit is insane. I don't doubt that at all. Thank you. And so he's talking. He then goes ahead and asks for more advice. This is going to culminate in something very interesting that Max has not mentioned. With my girl, but I was going to ask you, right? You and Zach have both said that overly pursuing being an artist doesn't make sense, which I totally understand reasoning. But what I failed to understand is, does that come from a place of just not believing that me working on becoming an artist is worth my time, or that genuinely isn't the best path? So in my head, imagine if the next upcoming artist or NBA superstar was streaming their come up, going from small shows to having big songs headlining stages. He's talking about he's going to become big and he's like streaming like the witnessing of it, I guess. Two things I struggle with is creative helping flesh out my ideas. Then I have no manager right now. So I kind of be feeling lost and losing the plot bad, but I'm gonna figure this shit out because I'll die for this. Zach was an amazing manager music wise, but I didn't want to have him as label and manager. I didn't like the crossover. And then he's like, I gave you the best possible person. You had me and Ray. You had the actual dream team behind you. I think he's talking about FaZe, like when he was at FaZe. Tried to tell you too many times, these weird UTA agents and managers who pay their bills off commission and know absolutely nothing about content or culture is not it. And so he's saying anybody else that's helping you is finessing you, not me. And so now we're going to start getting into, it almost sounds like he's regretful of leaving FaZe, except like he is saying that he is. I don't know what to do, bro. It just feels like I'm stuck, but I appreciate this convo and I'm gonna figure it out. When I first joined, I'm not gonna lie, like last summer was the happiest I've been, was just doing shit together and living life, creating. Shit's been cool since I left. I've been smooth sailing, but I just don't feel like I'm progressing. And I don't feel like creatively I'm really doing anything. And I realized how weak mentally I am to be able to allow others to sway my mind so easily on certain things. I fucked up this whole shit up phase, everything. Like, damn, I talked to them this before Subathon a couple weeks ago, but people didn't want me back. I understand they don't owe me anything, but I just know what I offer. And I think everything would go even crazier, but ultimately this is on me. Still cool with everybody. Show love where I can. It almost sounds like somebody who might want to rejoin FaZe. Genuinely, one of the biggest pulls from these conversations, Max is very insecure. Max is very unsure of the steps that he takes. I don't know why, per se. That could also explain why he may have an ego issue, because when you have a hyperinflated ego, it's usually to make up for insecurities you have. That's just kind of how it develops. Through and through, he keeps asking for stuff, and Banks is going to claim later, and that's kind of an important bit, that Max will ask to join FaZe again. And that was around a month ago. He asked to join FaZe again. People are calling that a switch up. People are saying that makes zero fucking sense for Max to be like, you know, going scorched earth right now when just a month ago he was asking to rejoin FaZe. I think this is a really good point too. Down at the bottom here. But more than anything, I dead miss working with you and Ray. Like, I said the N-word and contract shit threw me off bad, but I'm past that and we talked about it, so I don't give a fuck. And I get your POV. This is like, I would say, one of the nails in the coffin for Max here. They're making a big stink about Banks saying the N-word. Up to you guys if that is a big issue for you or not. I'm going to show more of what Banks talks about in regard to that. He claims that everyone was saying stuff like that and like the F slur behind closed doors. But you can see here, like, even though they're trying to make such a big issue of it right now, like I said, the N-word and contract shit threw me off regarding, I'm assuming, the monetization with the contract and him saying the N-word, but I'm past that and we talked about it, so I don't give a fuck. To not give a fuck and then use it to condemn Banks is a bit of a switch up, especially when behind closed doors you're cool with it. But would you see that it's advantageous to pile on Banks because he said this and you air it out? Really seems suspicious, seems weird. Makes people wonder about your intentions when you leak stuff like that. So I kind of want to see what Banks said here in response. Let me pull it up. You just got to look behind and assess who said what. I told you all of this every step of the way. I never gave you a single bit of bad advice. In hindsight, it looks like I actually did just have the best intentions with you. On the other hand, these people in your ears saying this, that, and the other are either likely Morgan type, who's just your boy but has zero experience and no idea what's right or wrong, and just gonna say yes, or Matt type, who's actually scum and insecure about real fools like us and see you as a bag and a number and someone who can help them pay their rent this month. Both types should be considered in terms of making any real decisions in your business or brand. One doesn't have experience or talent, and two, it's just self-interested. So again, it sounds like good advice. We don't know these people in the way that Banks is talking about them. So we're just gonna, we're taking people at their word, and given their reputation, that's tough for a lot of people. But then he says, I don't know how to do it, bro. I don't, but I genuinely know I made some mistakes on this path of mine because of my lack of confidence and judgment, as well as my growing ego. Even Max here is admitting that he has an ego issue. People saying that that isn't true. Max is cognizant of it, which maybe that even kind of undermines it a little, but he's also talking about knowing that this is an issue. We should lock in, document everything, and set a goal of reuniting the team. So even Banks is in on potentially pulling him back into the fold, pulling him back into FaZe. That's like insane content idea number 1, and 2, gets back to where you want to be. It's genius. That would be insane. To be honest, bro, I'm sad, bummed out. All shit went down, fell on, is crazy, it sucks. And then he asked more about some advice. Okay, and this is where that Yana girl, which is Marlon, another streamer type, ends up talking about her, and people were saying that it looked like he was clowning on her, giving her shit. He says, question, again, more asking for advice about his career. What do you think about the Rakai music video and that type of shit, doing music stuff with creators? For those who don't know, he made a music video with Rakai. Rakai, I think he isn't banned now, but he's living with his mom because he was saying dumb shit, and he's like 16 years old. He's a kid. People find him incredibly annoying. He's a nuisance streamer, it seems like. Do you think it hurts the brand what I'm trying to accomplish? I was going to do some music shit with this girl named Yana tomorrow. She's a creator. But I wanted to do other fun shit before I just like casual kick it, and this girl told me just music. The fuck? And then I think like, is it bad that someone like her thinks that she can just make music on my platform? Because in order for her to say that, she has to genuinely think that's normal, which technically I have made that to be the case because I have someone like Rakai making music. But I feel like I always did that with FaZe when we was making our rock songs and shit. So let me know what you think. A lot of people are saying, oh, he's being an asshole to Yana here. Like, how dare she? Like, this is an ego check. I don't think that's the case. It seems clear if you read it in its entirety that he's talking about the identity or like the brand, the image of his channel, of PlaqueBoyMax. He asked her, but I wanted to do other fun shit. He wanted to do other stream content with her, and she told him just music. Is it bad that someone like her thinks that she can just make music on my platform? Maybe it's the just that people are weirded out by, because in order for her to say that, she has to genuinely think that's normal. I'm reading that as she has to think that just making music on his channel is the normal thing. Like, that's what his brand identity is just making music. I think that's what Max has an issue with here. He wants to be known for more than just the music creation. He's also a streamer. He wants to be recognized in the same way that Lacey, Ronaldo, Jason, like these people are streamers first. And he says, which technically I have made that to be the case because I have someone like Rakai making music. So he's like, I understand that people are looking at this as my brand identity because of the decisions I've made, which is why he brings up the Rakai thing, thinking maybe that's going to hurt his reputation and brand more than not. That makes sense to me. Yana made a post, and I don't really want to jump into it because I really don't think that this is him attacking her. I think it's just him questioning, is he making the right decisions by putting so much music on stream? I think that's fair. That is a genuinely good point to make, and I think he's working through that critically. Banks gives him a lot of advice, gives him a lot of information. I think this is another one of their conversations where Max comes clean about a lot of stuff, and I'll include that here.
Comes to my house on November 7th. We talked for 7 hours. 7 hours. Max gets into all the details about how much he's paying his aunt, his cousin, and how his fucking business is a disaster, and asks me for a bunch of opinions and advice on what to do. And I told him, fire everybody except for Trey. Know how much money you're spending every month and get this shit under control, and it's all going to be all right, and I got you.
You can see here, after their 7-hour hangout in real time, right? 7 hours of hanging out. This is that same week, like 5 weeks ago. I appreciate you more than I can ever say because content-wise, everything is smooth. But business-wise, bro, sheesh. I'm about to do this stream with Nike. This is collaborating what Banks is saying they talked about. He mentions like he had said that he's paying his cousin this much, he's paying his aunt this much, like he's just kind of making fumbles business-wise. Max here is asking, where does your happiness come from? I think part of why I've been down, bro, comes from where I derive happiness from. This is like deeply personal shit. Like it seems that he's going through something and he's looking to Banks for advice like this. Like, you really have to think, are you asking where does happiness come from to somebody that you don't trust, that you don't like, that you do not fuck with? This is 5 weeks before everything's going down. Most charitable take is Max changed his tune very quickly because he found some shit out about Banks or something. It's clearly not the N-word stuff. He talked about that he's over that. He doesn't give a fuck about it. He talks about this like the Spotify thing. It's clearly not the Spotify thing because they're talking very kindly to each other, and he's asking very, very personal life advice with this guy well after that fact. So these points that people are bringing up that we have to assume Max has issue with Banks are all in the past, and it is clearly not bothering either of them at this point, well after both incidents have happened. And so he gives him advice. He's hearting the stuff. Eating with my mom, it's her birthday. Like they're just talking about life stuff at this point. So that's when it kind of comes to a close. He's now going to talk about this N-word stuff, and he's leaking a bit more info. He's going to make some pretty bold claims here.
Yeah, Max, I don't know. You guys tell me. It doesn't seem like me and Max have a problem. It doesn't seem like we've really had any sort of real issues in the last 5 months. And I'm not just going out of my way and randomly offering him my opinions and my advice. He's asking for them. And he's treating me like a mentor. And he's confiding in me about things. As it goes for this word that I said, first of all, I didn't say this targeted toward you. This wasn't said in any sort of racist connotation. I said this word in an emotional response, and I said, fuck all y'all blanks. And it's a fucking mistake, and I'm fucking retarded. I'm a 34-year-old man-child, and I have many, many flaws. And I'm an idiot for saying that. But bro, stand on, if you really have a problem with that, then why has it not been a problem for the last 5 months? If you really have a problem with that, why have you told me multiple times I don't have a problem with that?
Now look, admittedly, crazy that in a moment of anger, he just kind of switches into that. But he's making a good point. If it has not been an issue behind closed doors, if you have repeatedly told this guy, it's not an issue, I'm over it, I do not care about it, why do you suddenly care about it when it's getting you views? Why do you suddenly care about it when it's getting you clicks, when the internet would absolutely take your side if you acted like you weren't okay with it? Obviously, he wasn't okay with it in the interim there, but he said he forgave him. He said it didn't matter. He didn't give a fuck about it. He's also going to now air out that apparently all of the FaZe members have said it.
If you really have a problem with that, and I can say this, Ron, last subathon, fucking said it. Muted his mic and said it. The chat laughed, and everybody told him to say it, and he said it. Lacey has admitted to saying it publicly. You know this. So why isn't that a problem? Other members in FaZe have said it in the confines, behind the scenes, off cam, in the presence of other black creators and FaZe members. This was never a problem. It's only a problem now because it's convenient for you and for this narrative to make me look like shit and to make you look right. And it's fucking twisted, bro. And this is exactly what I was talking about yesterday. All this shit being fake. You guys can read those text messages between me and him and say that this isn't fake. It's the definition. It's the textbook definition of fucking fake. And this is exactly what I was talking about. Bro, in Vegas at a UFC event, I'm not gonna name names, I'm not gonna drag other people in, but Max's black manager at the time and other members in FaZe, black ones included, told me to rip the word. They said, yo, we're gonna keep it a buck, we need to hear you rip it. I said, really? I said it, everybody laughed. And they were drinking, and it was an experience. We're building rapport, and we're letting our guards down, and we're being vulnerable. And this is what fucking boys do. This is what actual friends do. And that's what I thought we were doing. I thought we were trying to form an actual relationship, an actual bond. I let my guard down. I said it. It wasn't a big deal then. You knew about this and have known about this, and it was never an issue. Explain to me what other reason, why now? Why is it a problem now?
I think, again, these are kind of good points just to illustrate that you have not given a shit about any of this. You've been cool with it up until it's getting you views. I'm finding it hard to see where Max is coming from airing this shit out when it seems that behind closed doors. Like, it doesn't seem like he just made that shit up. That was a very specific reference he made to being in Vegas and doing this with a group of people.
To stoop as low as to try to weaponize this fucking word and to paint me out to be this fucking awful guy is crazy, bro. And I'm not even gonna stoop as low, bro. You've said all types of shit, but guess what? Surprise, internet, we all say it. We all say it. Max has said fucking the F slur. Surprise, I've said it too. And so has every other fucking FaZe member. And so does every other group of friends behind the scenes. You guys wanna farm that? Then please be real about all of it. Stand on business, Max. I can't believe you went live and really said, I left FaZe and y'all were on me and it was a right decision, whatever. Bro, a month ago, you asked to join back. It's crazy.
So there's, again, also that claim. I don't think that he's bullshitting. I don't think he's lying about that claim. From the messages alone, it was very clear that Max was talking about leaving FaZe as a huge mistake over and over, that the business side of things was crumbling over and over. Banks even alluded to having him come back would be a huge clout pull. Like, it would drive huge attention. It would help his business. I don't doubt that actually happened. From the text messages between them, it actually seems that way. I think the point Banks is making there is that if you're going to say this, if you're going to call me out and say I'm a bad person and like you're going to, tie this in me saying this word, but all of you say this shit behind closed doors is insane. He kind of culminates as like, yeah, this is my fault. He's like, it is my fault that I did any of this, et cetera, et cetera.
I sold a dream to the business side. I said, yo, this is a good bet to take, invest this money. Let's buy this brand and let's kickstart this content crew and it'll work. This new streaming shit, it's wave. These fucking kids are awesome. They're gonna be fucking superstars. And then on the side of the guys, I told them all, join FaZe. It's gonna be the best decision you've ever made. I couldn't build the bridge between the two. I told this side, I want you guys to own FaZe. I told this side, the guys need to own FaZe. I had these conversations and I tried my hardest in the beginning stages of this shit and it didn't work out. And the common denominator is me. It didn't work out because of me. And for that, I'm sorry. And even you, Max, like I am sorry to you for that. Like that is where I fucked up. That is what I'll stand on and take to the chin.
Don't get me wrong. Banks has the most interest in being apologetic here, in saying what he's saying. I don't doubt that he believes this, though. And I don't think he's being insincere. I think he's a smart enough guy to recognize shit like that. He's not saying he knows exactly how he is the reason for it, but he knows he has to be. That he screwed up in some type of way, that he did something wrong along the way, but he truly believes that he had the best intentions throughout the entire thing. At the very least, I think it's worth making that point. Maybe I am giving him too much credit because my pendulum's kind of swinging back because I kind of looked at all the first stuff with a much more negative lens towards him. You guys can correct me in the video, let me know in the comments and stuff, but that's just kind of where I'm at with that so far. Banks ends up replying to this video that he put out that kind of closes it out. And he says, his words, not mine. This is just a reply under it. And so this is that message here. And so I had pointed this out when we went through it. More than anything, I miss working with you and Ray. Like I said, the N-word and contract shit threw me off bad, bro, but I'm past that. We talked about it, so I don't give a fuck. So he posts this on his Twitter here. I joined FaZe at 20. I respected Banks. After I left FaZe, Banks would call me saying I needed him and my career was falling off. He took advantage on the fact that I was depressed and in the hospital. At one point, I let all the calls get to me and asked to join FaZe again. But I kept going. And in November, I was introduced to a manager who helped me realize that a lot of the things he told me were lies. I've, since leaving, worked with bigger guests and brands and have a 2026 plan that is only even bigger than what I've accomplished so far. Thank you. I love you guys. Pray every day and follow your heart. See you soon. And he signs off as Prince. I don't know if that is an inside reference or anything. Banks doesn't seem to think that. Thinks that's kind of like an ego trip, like fully on display, calling himself Prince. Banks would call me saying I needed him and my career was falling off. Now, there were other people mentioning that after he left FaZe, his viewership did tank. Like his viewership tanked. Everything really did slow down for him afterwards. You saw Max admitting to this. For him to frame it as though he was like being an asshole to him doesn't really make sense. I'd be curious to see that because everything that Banks showed was like over the course of a couple months leading up to this, over the last 5 months, and he's kind of just being honest to him and very positive with him, very respectful. Maybe Max is implying here that before that he was being a complete shitter about it. And then, he says got bigger, better stuff. And he said that he met a manager in November that told him and had him realize that Banks is lying about everything. Banks ends up making another post and Max is actually going to reply to this one. He kind of does like a little follow-up thing here. Max is a liar. You guys see the way I spoke to him via our text messages. I always handled with care. He fucked his friends over and left because he thought he was the program and has admitted multiple times it was strictly a career move. This kid thinks he's Travis Scott and it's a shame it's come to this. Lying on / dragging someone who's only ever helped you. Botting views. Claiming just kind of out of nowhere that the guy was botting views. He doesn't really follow that up with any evidence, though, so take that with a grain of salt. It's all ego. He literally just signed his message off as Prince. He's telling you who he is. You just won't listen. Banks sends response to that with the message we had seen. He talks about that, and then I want to include the second part of that. He says, never one time did I tell him he was falling off. I always lifted him up. You don't even have to take my word for it. Check the date. This is one of the last conversations I had with Max well after he got out of the hospital. He's a liar. And this is Max saying, I'm gonna make you proud, and thank you for always believing in me. Watch. Max responds to this. Not a liar. I just went against you and stood for myself and you aren't okay with that, so now you're crashing and using any narrative you think you can cling on to try and destroy a young fella chasing his dreams. Sad, Ricky, sad. To the right is texts Ricky sent my aunt. What's changed since then, Ricky? Nothing except that you no longer have control over me. Happy holidays, Prince, yet again. This is the message that he's saying that Banks sent to his aunt. I don't have to tell you this, but Max is genuinely an amazing person, incredibly humble and beyond grateful. I've worked with the biggest of the biggest, and it's unfortunate to see greed, ego, all the worst things that start creep in following success as often as it is, but Max has faded all of it. So I think the argument here, he's saying, well, he's telling his aunt that Max doesn't have an ego, that Max is incredibly humble. My favorite Max moment of all time, the moment I knew it was safe to give him everything I had, and the second I realized I was riding for this kid and for the rest of his life, is when he came to the house and saw the potential and was so grateful for the moment that he slept on that couch in the living room for like a month. Love and truly love all these boys. We really are a family, and I thank God every day for them. People are leaving comments and stuff, though. I think there's both sides of that. He's clearly telling his aunt he thinks he's the most humble guy. He's not saying that in his video. I'm tripping. Are you proving him right when he said he always speaks highly of you? Banks message, see how I spoke about him in text, always handled with care. Then you post a screenshot of him speaking highly of you and handling you with care. Stop signing off as Prince. Cringe as hell. I don't think it's true. I might as well include it if it ends up coming out to be true, but please, I genuinely, I don't think this is real. Aiden Ross's best friend Cheezer reveals that he has purchased FaZe Clan, that Aiden Ross has purchased FaZe Clan. There were some things that he bid 20 million and bought it. I have not been able to confirm that in any way. I did reach out to Aiden on Instagram. So we're going to see if anything comes of that. But they're like saying, okay, this is the new lineup. This is apparently a message from Cheezer, which is Aiden's friend. I don't know these people. We'll see if that's actually confirmed going forward. I doubt that I'm going to get a response from Aiden through Instagram, but that was the only way I could like contact, and it would be the best person to ask. Now that brings it close to the VOD. I'm sorry the edited video is so long. I just felt like there was a lot of important shit to include. Also, apologies for the lower quality during a good chunk of that at the start of the video we went over, going over what Banks had to say. At the time of finishing this video, it looks like all of the FaZe members, Ronaldo, Lacey, Adapt, Jason, Silky, all these people have come together and did a stream. So I'm going to be compiling all the clips from that and some other interesting stuff. So look out for that live stream and we'll be going over it shortly. Thank you for sticking around to the end if you still are, and hope you enjoy the rest of the videos coming out. All right, see ya. Adios, peace, bye.